Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope y'all are well. Today I want to do a discussion about the mark of the beast, but the reason that I feel led to talk about it is because I just see so many people not really understanding what it is, and I understand why they don't understand what it is, and it just really compels me to talk about it. I don't want anybody to be misled or to make the choice unknowingly, unwillfully, I guess that's the best way to say it, to receive eternal damnation because they're doing something out of tradition, because they are too afraid to um, change. It's never too late to change as long as you live and you have an opportunity to. It's never too late to change. So I want to talk about it, and I want to help people understand why it's important. We need to understand what the mark is. So this came from the Bible study tools, and I will leave a link to this in the description, but it's just a foundation for the discussion that I want to have. So this is the Baker's Evangelical Dictionary of Biblical Theology, and it's on the mark of the beast. So Revelation 16:2 and Revelation 19:20 cite the mark of the beast as a sign that identifies those who worship the beast out of the sea. And so I want you to take two words out of the sentence: sign and worship. Because worship can mean a lot of different things. And in the context of this, when we talk about worship, as we get into it or get into my thought, for Yesharim and those who are Sabbath keepers, you understand that you are obeying the law, statutes, and commandments as best you can. And you are keeping the day that He told us to keep and keep it holy. When you worship on Sunday, you are worshiping the sun. You are doing it because the Roman Empire told you to do it. You were forced into it. Your ancestors were forced into it, but now we willfully do it by choice. And even though there's plenty of information that tells you that Sunday is not the right day, you will have preachers that will stand up in the pulpit and tell you it doesn't matter which day that you worship. It does matter which day you worship, because when you're obedient to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High in the Old Testament, He tells you to rest on the seventh day. And He tells you why. And He tells you what it represents. And He tells you what you should do and what you should not do. So when you worship on Sunday and you say you're observing the Sabbath, you're not observing the Sabbath. You're observing the day of the sun. You're practicing the occult. And so you are sealed with the sign of the beast. And I mean, you can go and research this. I'm not going to go into it. I do have a video on it. But, if you want to know why folks go to church on Sunday instead of keeping the Sabbath, there's historical context written all over the place. It's not hidden. And so once you read that information and then you continue to go to church on Sunday because you feel you have an emotional attachment to it. It's something that your family did. Even though now you know that it's wrong and you continue to do it, you're making a choice to have the sign of the beast in your head and on your hand. It is in your mind, so you can't free yourself from it, and it controls your actions. So that's why it's in your hand. You use your hand to drive to the church to go worship the sun on Sunday. You use your hand to swipe your bus pass to get on the bus and go to your church on Sunday. You use your Bible to study, but you're not studying to show yourself approved for the Most High. You're studying to go to worship the beast on Sunday because that's the day the beast told you to go worship. And so when we talk about signs and seals and worship, that's what this is about. And as we watch this new governance structure, this beast infrastructure come into play, um, understand that Rome is behind it, but Rome is not the face of it yet. It's coming, but it has not manifested yet. But it showed glimpses, and we see it, and we recognize who it is, and we know who the beast is. So when you know those things, you know how to position yourself and prepare for what's coming. You prepare for not being able to buy and sell. You prepare for persecution. You prepare for your neighbors snitching on you, because they're going to tell you ain't worshiping on Sunday. They're going to tell you didn't keep that eco Sabbath. They're going to tell. Unless you ain't around them, they're going to tell. So that's why it's really important for you to be ganged up with folks who are on the same page as you are. And it's really important for people, if you don't want to take the mark of the beast, you got to come out of those Sunday keeping churches, period. I don't care what they teach you. The law, statutes, and commandments say rest on the seventh day, not the first day, not the third day, not the fourth day. It said rest on the seventh day. Keep the Sabbath and keep it holy. Obey the Sabbath. Keep it. Observe it. Don't ignore it, and don't be like, oh, well, I'm going to observe it on Sunday. You got the mark of the beast. You are marked. You are already marked. Before anything happens, you're already marked. Voluntarily, you're marking yourself. So you have to come out of those churches that keep Sunday as the Sabbath. And not only that, but they also condone the things that the Most High considers abomination, such as homosexuality, same-sex relationships. I know some folks going to be like, oh, it don't say homosexuality in the Bible, but it does say, men shouldn't lay with men as they lay with women, and women shouldn't lay with men as they lay with men. It is in the Bible. If you take your time and look at it, it says that. Don't say homosexuality, because it's just a European new word, relatively new word. But the actions are explicit in the Bible. So you have to understand that a lot of things that we do, how we dress, how we tattoo our bodies, we wear makeup, we wear jewelry, just a lot of the things that we've been taught to do is our practices of the occult. And the church tolerates them, but they tolerate them because the church is not necessarily worship. They ain't worshiping Yah. They worshiping Rome and the occult. A lot of our people don't know that. A lot of Black people don't know that, and they don't want to know it. I find it very difficult to talk to Black people about stuff like that. They are set in their ways. They want to do stuff, and they just feel like it's nothing wrong with going to church on Sunday instead of observing the Sabbath on sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. They're going to have a hard time explaining why they got this information and didn't change. And it's a choice. But and when I say have a hard time explaining, when you go to judgment and you get your sentence, when you go before the judge, you're going to get your sentence. And you're going to have to explain why you got information like this and you didn't use it, or why you had access to knowledge and you chose not to read it. You chose to watch TikTok videos. You chose to go party, go to cookout, or watch television instead of studying to show yourself approved so that you can get the right seal. So this beast is usually identified as the Antichrist. This mark is first mentioned in Revelation 13:16 through 17, where it is imposed on humanity by the beast of the earth. And so you can kind of say we've been dealing with the mark of the beast for a long time already anyway, because when we were captured by our enslavers, a lot of times, even before we were captured, they were in Africa slaughtering us, and they were forcing um, Africans on the continent to be Catholics. And if they refused, and a lot of them refused, they literally lost their lives. They had their children taken away if they didn't convert. They were slaughtered and piled up like dirt. And so when you talk about the mark of the beast is not anything new. It's been around for a long time, but they're getting ready to go back to the old days where you don't have a choice. You have to convert to their God, to worshiping the beast, them, or they're going to persecute us. And so that's what I want to get into. Where is imposed on humanity by the beast of the earth, which is Revelation 13:11. This second beast is the false prophet. And we don't know who the false prophet is. To me, it doesn't even really matter because you're focused on the sign and worship. That's all I'm focused on. I don't care who's coming along, singing, selling wolf tickets, peace and safety. I know what the sign is. And as long as I'm spiritually connected to the Most High, I will know who's real and who's fake. And that's why it's really important for you to get right in all your ways. We must be right spiritually. We must be set apart. We must live set apart. We must act set apart. You must give, this world its stuff back. And part of that is us decolonizing the way that we worship because we've been taught to worship the sun. We've been taught to worship wrong. And the other reason that we're taught that is because church is a business. And a lot of people are going to be out of business if y'all wake up and stop going to church. They will lose money. A lot of churches will close down, be foreclosed on. People like T.D. Jakes and Paula White, and Joyce Myers and Kenneth Copeland and Rick Warren, all those folks would lose money off book sales and all the stuff that they sell because y'all love Sunday worship and y'all believe in them. They know Sunday is the wrong day of worship, but they are part of the beast system. And so they've already sold their souls. They ain't turning back. They can't turn back because guess what? They'll be persecuted. They're paid handsomely and allowed to flourish in this system in order to keep y'all in these churches so that y'all will have eternal damnation because at the end of the day, that's the Antichrist's primary goal. He hate God. He gonna do everything he can to make y'all do the things that God hate, so you can demonstrate you hate him too. By the time you figure out what's going on, it's gonna be too late. So there are watchmen and prophets and people telling y'all all over the place to come out of these churches, but you won't listen. And so the blood is not going to be on our hands. You're going to be responsible for your own selves. Messages like this and plenty of others that I've seen, people are trying to tell you in cold and out bold, hey, you got to come out of these churches. And why? But folks won't do it because they love the feeling that comes with doing the same thing over and over. And tradition is going to get a lot of people sent to eternal damnation because they like doing the same stuff. Even if it's wrong, it makes them feel good. And feelings over facts is going to be a problem during judgment. This mark is equivalent to the beast's name or number, which is Revelation 13:17 and Revelation 14:11. This enigmatic number is announced in Revelation 13:18 as 666. So it says this term mark has no special biblical usage apart from its association with the beast. The Greek term charagma was most commonly used for imprints on documents or coins. So when they start going back to Greek, they're basically telling you that the translation from Hebrew to Greek, then Greek to English, they use these words for their people, for the church, but those were not initially words that belonged to them. The Hebrews had their own words and language they used, and so a lot of things that we say and understand today is because stuff was translated and not necessarily translated in a way that would be helpful for us to understand. So it says the Greek term charagma was most commonly used for imprints on documents or coins. Charagma is well attested to have been an imperial seal of the Roman Empire used on official documents during the first and second centuries. This term does not occur in the Septuagint, and its use in the church fathers is insignificant. The only other reference to charagma in the New Testament besides those in Revelation is Acts 17:29, where it stands for an image formed by art. A more common term for mark or brand is stigma in its noun and verb forms. Branding was practiced in the ancient world and even in relation to religious concerns. I'm sorry about all the noise in the background, but folks driving by in loud stuff today. Religious tattooing was observed. Uh, so it just says religious tattooing was observed. In the third Maccabees 2:29 records an incident in which Jews were branded by um, Ptolemy Philopater or Philopater. I don't know how to pronounce that, the first. So excuse me for chopping that up. Um, with the Greek religious Dionysian ivy leaf symbol. The mark on Cain in Genesis 4:15 is rendered by Shimeon in the Septuagint, the term for sign. And then Paul references his bearing in his body the marks of Jesus, utilizes stigma and not charagma. So as you can see, the word for sign has changed throughout history, but the meaning of it has not. The contextual significance of marking those who worship the beast may be accounted for by noting how this motif answers to the seal on the foreheads of those who worship the Lamb, which is Revelation 7:3 and 14:1. The contrast is particularly noted in Revelation 24, where those who are martyred for the Lamb are resurrected to reign with Christ. So there are millions of people who have already died on this earth because they refused to accept the mark of the beast. So the mark of the beast is nothing new. When our ancestors were captured during the slave trade, part of them surviving was that they had to convert to Catholicism or Christianity or be killed or have their children killed. And a lot of people died because they just was not gonna they were not going to forsake Yah. And we're not taught that. We're not taught that in church. We're not taught that in history. You just kind of have to dig and find that. But if you go back through historical records, it's well documented how many people the Catholic Church killed to convert them to Catholicism, and then, or Christianity, and then here in America, once the slaves were here, they gave us a slave Bible that with a totally different um, interpretation of scripture. And they basically stripped our history away from us. They stripped our law, statutes, and commandments from us. But a lot of things that we had done throughout history still remain with us. So a lot of things that we do today, we still do because those things are encoded in our DNA. Thankfully, the ancestors did not forget everything. But we have to understand that we've been forced to convert and worship the sun instead of worshiping Yah. And so we have to try to get people to understand that the mark or the sign of the beast is about worship, who you worship and what you worship. So when you go to church on Sunday, whether you go to a Catholic church or Presbyterian church or Lutheran church or the AME church or the Baptist church. It don't matter what church you go to. If you get your behind up and go on Sunday anywhere and say you worshiping the Most High, you're not, because He didn't tell you to go no place and do no worship and observe nothing on no Sunday, on the first day of the week. So you're already marked with the mark of the beast. So it doesn't matter what you say out of your mouth. If you think getting a chip in your arm or not getting a chip in your hand or your head is going to prevent you from getting a mark, no, because the mark has to do with worship. And so I I just feel the need to keep talking about that, because I think people don't really understand. Um, when they ask you to bow down, if you bow down on Sunday, you took the mark. So you're going to be okay. You're going to think you did something right. But all you did was demonstrate that you don't understand what the mark is. You don't understand who the beast is. And he going to be happy. Or she. I don't know who it is, but it says this contrast is particularly noted in 24, where those who are martyred for the Lamb are resurrected to reign with Christ. The mark and the seal well image the two earthly groups who dominate the narrative. So when you have the mark, when you observe the law, statutes, and commandments, and you keep the Sabbath, you are marked. That's your seal. If you go to church on Sunday and you do whatever the government tells you to do when it comes to worship, or you can't get your bug sandwich, or you can't get your rations, or you won't have lights, you can't enjoy the internet in your 15-minute city, then you take their mark. You're also marked and sealed with the mark of the beast. The Most High will know, and the powers that be will know who is marked with the seal of Yah, because you're not going to do the things that they require you to do to participate in this society. And so that's why I'm kind of really telling people about preparing for discomfort, because that's coming if you are Yasharel or if you're a Gentile grafted in. Discomfort is coming. The hard choices are coming. And when I tell you they have things ready for us for persecution, Watchman Nehemiah and I are going to tell you what they have for us. They've been waiting for thousands of years to slaughter a lot of us, and a lot of us are going to get it because we're going to refuse to take the mark. So persecution is coming, and so you need to be about it. The interpretive difficulty in understanding the mark of the beast resides in identifying what response John expected by his challenge in Revelation 13:18 to calculate the number of the beast. The process of working from a number to a name was an ancient process called gematria in Hebrew and isosephia in Greek. And just for the record, if you look up gematria, on YouTube, there are a lot of people who do this, and they decode so many good things that we miss, stories and things when the powers that be are speaking, for telegraphing or forecasting what they're getting ready to do. They give you signs, symbols, and codes and numbers, but we don't know them because they practice something that's totally different. It's a different way of speaking. I hate to say that it's witchcraft, but it's just a different way of speaking to keep things private. It's an ancient way of doing things. The powers that be know it and understand it, but they didn't teach it to us. So we have to learn it, or we have to sit under people who understand it and let them decode for us. And so I know Franchot Pearson does a really good job of doing that. And there are a lot of other people on YouTube who are doing it. So if you don't know about gematria, I recommend you try to follow some of the people, because there are so many things that we miss that I don't even talk about on this channel. But I mean, when I talk about the Most High is working in this hour, got his people working overtime teaching, they are working. So you really have no excuse not to know in this hour. If you don't know, it's because you don't want to know. So it says many ancient languages utilized the letters of the alphabet for their numerical systems. The letter and number ratio was known by all. This existing process was used in enigmatic statements to conceal the identity of the person under consideration. An oft quoted graffito from Pompeii reads, "I love her whose number is 545." Only those who knew the name of the pool of candidates could work out the riddle. The apocalyptic Sibylline oracles used 888, the numerical equivalent of lesos, or the Greek letters for Jesus, is an indirect reference to Jesus as the incarnate God. Therefore, John could have expected his audience to solve the riddle, but only if there was a shared pool of understanding concerning the enigmatic nature of the reference. So, you know, he spoke in code because, of course, he couldn't bluntly come out and say, hey, the Roman Empire is the beast. He would have been killed. But he had to speak in code so that the record could stand and we could be in this hour and know what time it is. And thankfully, we have people who are well versed in this. So they've deciphered who the beast is. And so now we know who not to worship. If you understand what worship actually means and what it's associated with, what it should be associated with. The history of the interpretation concerning the correlation of a person with the number 666 has only resulted in endless speculations. One of the most prominent candidates has been the first century Roman Emperor Nero. A rare rendering of his name into Neron Caesar, transliterated into Hebrew as NRWNQSR, renders the number 666. This rare form of Nero's name was actually found in an Aramaic document from Qumran, John's play on Hebrew words in the book of Revelation at 9:11 and Revelation 16:16. It is also noteworthy that a variant reading in Greek New Testament manuscripts exits that cites the number as 616 rather than 666. The transliteration of the normal Nero Caesar into the Hebrew renders the number 616. There was also belief in a revived Nero as the Antichrist from the first century to the time of Augustine, who cites this idea in the City of the God. So, there are lots of Antichrist, but we don't know who the Antichrist will be in the end time. So, Irenaeus, however, wrote within a century of the Apostle John and did not mention Nero. He proposed a number of options, including Latinos, meaning a Latin and thus a Roman ruler, and Tatian, a Roman name with which he has enamored. A few modern scholars have noted that the numbers can also argue for a connection with Babylon and Nimrod. The list is expanded with the creative use of numbers during times of modern crises. Hitler was a major candidate during World War II. It is possible that John merely intended the number to be symbolic of the beast and his followers represent humankind in their ultimate rebellion against God, his Lamb, and the followers of the Lamb. John explains in 13:18 that the number 666 is the number of man. The number 7 is well established as a number of perfection. Irenaeus notes that the image set up by Nebuchadnezzar was 60 cubits high by 6 cubits wide. The number 666 could well personify the imperfection of man, even implying in the triple number the unholy trinity of the dragon, Antichrist, and the false prophet. The identity of those who follow the Lamb or the beast is self evident to the observer, whether it is the first century or the eschatological future. The vision calls John and his audience to discern the spirit of sinful humanity that accompanies the Antichrist rather than to decode his identity. And so that is what I focus on. And so part of discerning the spirit of sinful humanity is, observing the disobedience, whether it's willful disobedience or disobedience because of ignorance. But our job is to help people understand that the sign or the mark is associated with worship. And the takeaway is that if you are going to church on Sunday, you are worshiping the beast already. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to get a chip. You don't have to get a QR code on your phone. You don't have to sign into a database. You don't have to worry about a vaccine passport. You already got the mark. If you don't worship anything at all and you're thinking, oh, I'm not taking the mark, I'm not getting a tattoo, I'm not getting a barcode, I'm not getting a chip in my head or chip in my hand. If you don't worship anything, if you don't worship Yah, you're going to worship the beast. And so you already have the mark. Whether you're agnostic or atheist, if you worship something else, if you practice some other religion, you're already taking a mark. If you practicing yoga and meditation, you got a mark. If you are doing tarot cards and reading palms and not doing nothing and you love everybody and you're coexisting, you have a mark. Because that's not what we're called to do. We're called to be set apart. You're not called to coexist with everyone. You're not called to be everybody's friend and love everybody. God don't love everybody. He'll tell you that in his word. He don't like the disobedient. He don't like if we're going to be repentant and come back, yes, sure. And he will give us chances to do that. But if we're going to be blatantly disrespectful, disobedient, and go against his word, his law, statutes, and commandments and say, oh, well, I'm going to go to church on Sunday because my preacher said, your preacher ain't God. I'm gonna go to church on Sunday because my mama taught me to do it, and my aunt preaches at the church, and so on and so forth. And I'm on the usher board, and I'm on this and that. You're out of order. You are disobedient. You are going to suffer in the next life because you chose to be disobedient. So as long as you are engaging in disobedience, you have a mark, whether it's how you live your lifestyle, um, or all those things are tied into worship. It's either you're worshiping the world or you're worshiping the Most High. And when you worship the Most High, you change how you live, you change how you talk, you change how you walk, you change who you associate with, you change what you eat, you just change. And I mean, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I see it as futile trying to talk to people. And because, we talk about the mark, but not enough people talk about what the sign is of the mark. And the sign is worship. So for those watching who don't necessarily understand why it's important to come out of churches on Sunday, doing Sunday worship and observing Sabbath, learn what Sabbath is. And even if you have to start doing it on your own, by yourself, do it. But you cannot continue to go to church on Sunday and think you are obeying the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, because you're not. You can't. He told us when to worship. He told us when to rest. He told us what day to keep holy. He did not say Sunday. There was no such thing as Sunday when he gave us the 10 commandments. We got Sabbath. Keep the Sabbath. And the Sabbath is not on Sunday. It's not the first day of the week. That's not the day of rest. And so do your research on your own. You don't have to believe me, but I implore you to do your own research and then make the decision. If you're not going to change, you're already marked. If you believe it's not a big deal, you are already marked. If you believe that nothing's going to happen to you and because you chose to obey the word and the world and not the word, and that God knows your heart, you are already marked because you have the thought process of the world and you have the ways of the world and not the Most High. You're going to do as you want to. You're going to do your will and not Yah's will. So we have to break some traditions that we've been keeping, and we have to come out of this world because this world has misled us for a long time. And now that we're seeing the end really close, we gotta start doing the right thing. And it means you're gonna have to leave some people behind. It means you're gonna suffer some ridicule and persecution. People gonna be mad at you. They're gonna tell you you're different. They're gonna ask you why you don't want to do these things no more. It means you're gonna have to stop celebrating all these pagan traditions. You're gonna have to get out of celebrating Resurrection Sunday. Ain't nobody told you to celebrate that. You're going to have to stop celebrating Easter. Nobody told you to celebrate Easter. Nobody told you to celebrate Shar. Nobody told you to celebrate Saint Nick and Christmas and having a Christmas tree penis in your house. Nobody told you to do that. Nobody told you to worship Saint Nick. Nobody told you to worship white Jesus and have the Last Supper with these white men in your house and all these angels and things you riding around with, those little mini pagan gods. Like, Christianity has really warped a lot of African American Black people. And, there's only so much anger you can have with them because we're all living in the same system. Like, we've been taught to not believe each other. We've been taught to not believe nobody but Mr. Charlie, which is the beast. And I'm not saying Mr. Charlie per se, but this system. We've been taught to believe in this system, and this system is just an extension or arm of the Roman Empire. It don't never die. It regenerates like in the movies. Cut limb off and the limb grow back. That's what the Roman Empire is. So they have a lot of foot soldiers. And when you choose to worship on Sunday, you are being a foot soldier for the beast system because you are allowing the beast system to manifest. You are keeping it alive and you are helping the system. You're being disobedient. That's the bottom line. So understand what the signs are. It's not just a chip. It's not just going to be, a set of things. Although this system is going to play a role at the end that is going to lead to the worship, we need to know about all these things because the system is going to be set up. We need to know about this one world system where they're going to know everything that you do, and they're going to be able to prevent humanity from buying and selling if you don't have this mark, if you don't go to church and worship, you don't have this sign, and that sign is you're going to worship, you're going to take whatever things they tell you to take, or you can't participate in society. Yes, it's good that you don't take the chip. It's good that you don't get a QR code. It's good that you abandon technology so that you don't have to deal in digitalization. It's going to be good that you get out of the city so that you're not stuck in a smart city and monitored under surveillance 24/7. But if you're going to still continue to go to church every Sunday and worship the Son, you already marked. Billions of people are already marked and they don't know it. So if you don't stop going to churches on Sunday, you are already have the mark. You're going to keep the mark and you're already sealed. So unseal yourself from Satan's seal and put on Yah's seal. Get the Lamb seal so you can be going where everybody else trying to get to, because you're already on your way to going to the other place if you continue to worship the Son and not the Most High, and worship on the first day of the week instead of the seventh day of the week. It don't matter if you call his name and if you cry out unto him. We are worshiping on the wrong day, and it's been documented. People are talking about it and nobody's moving. Even, you know, a lot of teachers of Yasharel, they teach the word, but they teach it on Sunday. So if you're teaching the word and you're teaching it on Sunday and you're not keeping Sabbath, you leading people the wrong way and people are following you in the wrong way. So there's only so much you can teach. You got to put it into action. And Sabbath is supposed to be kept, and it's supposed to be kept holy. Sunday is not the Sabbath. So that is what I want to implore, as we see things happening in the world and it's about the time, get sealed with the seal of the Lamb. Give them folks their stuff back. Give the beast his day of worship back, because you are not worshiping the Most High. You don't have the seal of the Lamb. And you know where you're going if you sealed wrong. So get sealed right. Let's get on the right path. And let's do this while we still can. Do the research while you still have resources to research. Because they're going to scrub this internet down soon. And it's going to come back up and you ain't going to be able to find nothing. It's already hard to find stuff. But when they take it down and come back up, you ain't going to be able to know nothing. It's going to be very hard to convince people of the truth. The truth will be a lie, and the lies will be truth. It's already been prophesied. You already know what's coming. So if you can, while you can, study to show yourself approved. Learn about Sunday and Sabbath. And then you make the choice of what you're going to do. But understand, when you make your choice, you're going to have to live with it a long time. And some of that time is going to be uncomfortable until the millennial kingdom is over. So the millennial rule is over. All right, this is Marla Kay. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. I will have Watchman Nehemiah come on and expound on the seal again and the signs and the worship. Because, again, I'm not a Bible scholar. I wasn't a preacher. I just want to talk about, this particular subject because I see so many people talking about not taking the mark and thinking it's a chip, or, they may be persecuted. You might not be persecuted if you go to church on Sunday. You might be fine. You might not take the chip, but you're going to church on Sunday. You got the mark of the beast. You already sealed. You good. So understand what that seal is and what that sign is. And if you want the right sign, it's going to require some changing, especially for a lot of Black people, African American Black people, and just Black people in general, Africans, people in the Caribbean. We were converted, and we've been converted for a long time, but it's time for us to take our rightful places and obey our laws, statutes, and commandments. Give Caesar his stuff back. That's what I'm gonna say. Give Rome their stuff back. Give them their gods and their symbols and signs back, because those things are gonna only be a problem. They may seem like it's good and the life is comfortable, and it might be good while you're here on earth, but let me tell you, You don't want eternal damnation. And I don't want anybody who has the opportunity to turn back to not have that, and to do that now while you still can. All right, this is Marley K. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel. Also subscribe to my Odyssey and Rumble channels in the event that this channel is taken down. Hit the bell notification so that you can get notified when I upload new content. And follow me on social media. Links are in the description. Take care, good people. Happy Sabbath. And I am